Today we're going to be looking at pivot tables, creating and customizing pivot table. So we have our data set here, having known all our columns. So basically, what is pivot table? We need to understand what um, pivot table implies. Pivot table is a functionality in Excel which helps you to organize and analyze data. Basically, that's what it does. So it lets you add and remove values, perform some calculations, and to filter some and sort data sets. So that's what it does. And I'm going to show you some of these things that I've just mentioned. So it also helps you to structure and organize your data to understand larger data sets. And some of the things that it also does, it has some features also like charts, and it helps you to create a better chart. Yeah, it aids in creating charts for visualization. So with pivot table you can easily extract some tables from your large data sets for analysis. So let's get to work. Now, by clicking this place, I highlight everything, all the data sets here. Then I'll come to insert under this tab, then click insert. The first thing on the insert is pivot table. All I need to do is just click this pivot table. So is that you create the pivot table on a new sheet or this existing sheet, but I want to put it on an existing sheet, either no, not particularly this one, but another sheet entirely, probably the 17 sheet. So that's where I'm going to be doing everything in, since we are in day 17 of our challenge. So let me click existing sheet, then I'll click this. Now it's asking for the range. All I need to do, I'll come here, click this particular sheet, then click on any of the cell here where I'm going to start. So once I click that, click this, click OK, then the pivot table will appear. So we have the pivot table field. So that's where I can do whatever I want to do. Now don't forget, we need to understand our data set before you perform anything you want to perform. So for example, I have some list here. I have sales, I have price of each, I have monthly, I have different things. So I can decide to deduce anything from here. I can decide to analyze. Okay, now based on these sales, I want to know, based on cities, I want to know cities that actually meet sales and how much they make per cities. So now back to our pivot table. Now all the columns are listed here. So I can decide to pick city. I'll pick city and sales. Okay, before going there, let me just explain one or two things. In pivot table, don't forget we have columns, we have rows. When let me pick sales. I want to deal with sales and city. Sales based on different cities. Now I've picked cities. Now look at what we have. So the city falls on row, while the sales fall on values, because that is where we want to get our value from, because sales is actually in figures and get derived, so it will definitely fall in values. Now the city, definitely, since we have cities, rows of cities, it should fall in rows. Now put it in column will distort or make it look, this does not look presentable. I have to scroll, it does not really look presentable, so it's rather I put it here, which is still fair. So that's about the row and column and the value. So basically columns are vertical but tabular data, like I just showed. So we have the row, these are the columns, rather, these are the columns, the two columns, so they're in vertical form, right? So the columns have vertical tabular data in particular. So The column includes these values here, these unique values, because if you check our, like as I said, we have New York, okay, sorry, NYC, and this NYC, that is New York City, appears multiple times. So, but once you click your table, once you form your table, it will give you a unique um, values. That's what I'm about to creating table like this. So, to give you unique value. So I have our columns here. So the rows are horizontal tabular data, just like this. So the list of these are in rows, while they are under category of columns as this. So we have filter. So I can decide to filter from here. You can see this drop down menu. I can decide to filter this and click the ones I actually want. So let me pick from here. I don't want this, I'll mark them. The ones I don't want, I'll leave Barcelona. I don't want this, I don't want this, I'll leave Boston. So I can decide to pick, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. So I can decide to pick from any of this. So I want Cambridge, I want Charlotte. So I can decide to just unmark some of them and leave some of them. That's one of the things filter does. So that's you playing around with your data sets, trying to derive certain things. The ones you don't need, you can always unmark. That's that on this. So you can unmark in large quantity to save you this stress. For example, now I want to unmark everything, then decide to pick the ones I want by marking them. I want Boston. Maybe I just want, let's just say 5 or 10 cities. I want Cambridge, the ones I know. So that's the beauty. I want Dublin here, Frankfurt, yeah. So that's the beauty of picking. I want Liverpool. Filter. So that's what the filter does basically. So let's work with some of this. I want Madrid, Manchester, yes. I want New York City, Osaka, Paris, San Francisco. Let's pick that. San Francisco, yeah, Singapore. Then I'm going to end it with, let me just pick one of these. Okay, so let's say okay. So these are the list of the ones I picked. From this list I can decide to do whatever I want. So that is something about the filter now. So filter are used to select what data you see or the ones you want to you are particular about and you want to work with it. So these are the examples of what. So that's that. And I've also talked about values. Value here is that I picked the sales under value, and value is just the result of what you are working with. You want to derive information from. So value define how you present the data. So you can define how you summarize or show values. Now in this value now you can see sum of sales. They summed up all the sales in Barcelona, and we have this. Now instead of you coming to the data set and having to pick manually where Barcelona is, then you have to start searching or use filter. That even using filter makes it a bit, but then even using filter will make it still long. It's really a stressful work to do. You have to come here, filter, then start looking for Barcelona, things like that. Then after all of that, look at this. Where's Barcelona? Then you pick unselect or pick. Then you can see Barcelona alone. Then you have to sum everything up. Now let's sum it up. The sum here is 78,411 $86, 86 cents. $8,511 $86. Is that what we have here? Let's check. Perfect. You can see. So you can see how our pivot was able to summarize everything easily, did the calculation on our behalf instead of you having to come here and all that, and it makes the work easier and in a better format. So you can see I just filtered for Barcelona because, and that's the exact sum um, pivot table gave us. So that's the beauty of you working with pivot table. Now that's value. Now that's sum. I can decide to look for um how many times Barcelona appeared, how many times they still under this. Let's see. But this is not really necessary, but I just want to show you counts. I want to count how many times they made order or how many times they appeared. 23 times. That is count of city. I put it on a value. Why? Because I want to get the value of this backer, how many times they actually made the sales. 23 times Boston, 44 times Cambridge, 38, and look at how it is. So that's another feature there. So now we have our field and layout. How are we going to get that? Let me just click here and say pivot. I don't want to hide it, it's already here. So basically that's our pivot table. I don't want to hide our field. Let's show so you can see. That is playing around with the page layout. You can see that's another page layout. That's some of the features you get to see here. So let's try our field. So the pivot table is displayed how by your settings. So that is how it is displayed. The pivot table field panel is used to change how you see the data. These settings can be separated in two forms. We have the field and we have the layout. Now let's see some of the things we have here. You can try to play around with some of this like I just did. So we have our account, we have our, so now a minute. So basically let's see how to, now we've done creating aspect of this pivot table. Let's see customizing. Now we can actually change the name of this label to city. So with this we can work with that and create our charts. So other things you can do, you can try to work around this and all of that. So basically that's it about pivot tables.